For many years now, I have wanted to have chickens. I want them for the eggs, but also for the adventure and the joy of having chickens. You see, when I was a boy, I grew up on a farm, and my grandparents had chickens, and I enjoyed gathering the eggs and just going in the chicken house and watching the chickens do their thing. There's something calming about watching chickens. And during this pandemic, when eggs were scarce early on, and after having enjoyed eating fresh eggs this winter because a friend was giving me fresh eggs, I decided that now was the time to act on that long-time dream. What I didn't count on was that my daughter Emma would want in on the adventure. 3 years ago, when she bought her first place, her first house, and it had a barn, I suggested that we would grow chickens and goats there. She didn't like that idea then. However, when I posted a picture of the 4 baby chicks that I had bought for myself, I got a text from her, and she asked to join me in the adventure. Now, we don't have her barn ready quite yet, even though we are working on it. So I've been raising these chickens in my garage. Now, the one thing about having chickens, it's called chicken math. You can't just stop at 4. So now we have 22 birds. They're different kinds, and it'll be a beautiful flock when we're done. They're 4 different ages because I bought them at 4 different times. I had planned to stop at 18, which would have been the last batch I got. But one of those died very quickly after getting it, and the store I bought it from was willing to replace them. But they wouldn't get the new batch in for a week and a half or 2 weeks. And you just can't get one chick. And you can't just put one brand new chick in with a pen full of 2-week-old chicks. Have you ever heard of the phrase pecking order? Well, it comes from the way chickens establish dominance over one another. And the greater the disparity in size, the more they pick on each other, even killing the smaller chicks. My oldest chicks are getting too big for my garage pen, and these days have been so nice, so I've wanted to put them outside. The other day, I had them in my blueberry enclosure in the backyard. I also put out my middle chicks with them. And though they did fine together several days earlier, this time when I went out to check on them, I found that the younger chicks were in a box that I had left for them so that they could get in and get out of the sun and have some shade. I chased the younger chicks out of the box, and as soon as I did, the older chicks came over to harass them. They ran at them, they chased them, they pecked at them, and the younger chicks quickly went back in the box. So I went back in the house for a little while to see what would happen. And I came out and I found the younger chicks still huddled in the box. You see, they had sought safety. They had found a place of refuge. They were being harassed, pecked, beaten up on, and they sought refuge in a cardboard box. They were huddled together with only one way to get at them. No one could sneak up on them from the back, and no one could come at them from the side. The big chicks would have to come in from the front. In the midst of these challenging times, they had found a place of refuge, a place of safety, a place of fortress. How about you? Do you have a place of refuge? A fortress? A place where you feel safe? This week I was looking at Psalm 27, It is attributed to David, but most scholars think that two separate authors wrote it, and their writings were put together to be one psalm. The break comes between verses 6 and 7. And in a few moments, listen as I read it, and you can hear the difference in the writing. And that way may well be the case. But what you'll notice about it is that it addresses the theme, a similar theme, a theme of finding refuge, finding a place of safety. Listen now as I read Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation, so why should I be afraid? The Lord is my fortress, protecting me from danger, so why should I tremble? When evil people come to devour me, when my enemies and foes attack me, they will stumble and fall. Though a mighty army surrounds me, my heart will not be afraid, for even if I am attacked, I will remain confident. The one thing I ask of the Lord, the one thing I seek most, is to live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, delighting in the Lord's perfections and meditating in his temple. For he will conceal me there when the troubles come. He will hide me in his sanctuary. He will place me out of reach on a high rock. Then I will hold my head high above my enemies who surround me. At his sanctuary I will offer sacrifices with shouts of joy, singing and praising the Lord with music. Hear me as I pray, O Lord. Be merciful and answer me. My heart has heard you say, come and talk with me, and my heart responds, Lord, I am coming. Do not turn your back on me. Do not reject your servant in anger. You have always been my helper. Don't leave me now. Don't abandon me. O God of my salvation, even if my mother and father abandon me, the Lord will hold me close. Teach me how to live, O Lord. Lead me along the right path, for my enemies are waiting for me. Don't let me fall into their hands, for they accuse me of things I've never done. With every breath, they threaten me with violence. Yet I am confident I will see the Lord's goodness while I am here in the land of the living. Wait patiently for the Lord. Be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently for the Lord. In this psalm, the writers give testimony to how they face challenging times, how they face uncertain moments, how they face when they are attacked by enemies. They testify to the importance of finding a place of refuge. So in these uncertain times, when the stress of the uncertainty and the weight of being limited in relational connections presses in on you, where is your refuge? In these uncertain times where your fears might be eating at you, where is your refuge? In this time of financial struggle, where is your refuge? In this time when you might be worried about contracting COVID, where is your refuge? When you face threats or feel anxious about things outside of your control, where do you find your sense of safety? When outside forces seek to harm you, where do you feel secure? The psalmist found his safety and security in his relationship with God. He turned to God in times of need. When enemies confronted, when uncertainties loomed, but more than only in times of need, the psalmist makes a request in this psalm that shows us even deeper into his relationship with God and why he found such safety, comfort, and refuge with God. If you could ask for one thing, what would it be? David says, "The one thing I ask of the Lord, the thing I seek most, is to live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, delighting in the Lord's perfections and meditating in his temple." What would be your one thing? Think about it. If you lived in the house of the Lord all the days of your life, you would be living in the safety and security that God provides. You would have a constant refuge. You would know who has your back. You would have no reason to fear. You would know that there is no threat that will separate you from the love of God in Christ Jesus. You would know that even if you died today, you would be able to say with the Apostle Paul, "To live is Christ, and to die is gain." David continues in verse 5, saying, "For he will conceal me there when trouble comes. He will hide me in his sanctuary. He will place me out of reach on a high rock. Then I will hold my head high above my enemies who surround me." I think David is saying he desires a deep relationship with God, one that is the foundation of who he is and what he does, one that looks to God in all times, not just the difficult times. Imagine how safe and secure you would feel if your whole life was oriented toward being in relationship with God. Imagine if you took refuge in God. You would find a peace that cannot be found anywhere else in all the world. You would know the certain hope despite the uncertainty of the future. And like all relationships, going deeper in a relationship with God takes time and work. It doesn't just happen. And the more we experience the comfort and peace God offers, the more we know we can trust him to provide for us. The more we experience his provision in times of uncertainty, the more we take refuge in him. "One thing I ask of the Lord," writes David, "the thing I seek most is to live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life." What a great aspiration. What a great prayer. What a great perspective on life to have. Finding the courage to face the uncertainty and harms of this world comes from waiting on the Lord. The writer knows that. And in verse 14, he writes, "Wait patiently for the Lord. Be brave and courageous." Yes, wait patiently for the Lord. You see, God is always present with us. He always has our back. But that doesn't mean that he always does exactly what we want when we want. And it also doesn't mean that we won't have challenging days in our lives. Nor does it mean that we won't face fierce enemies who seek to harm or even kill us. But when we have an ever-deepening relationship with God, it becomes easier to wait on God, to trust that despite whatever happens in this world, we will have life forever with God, that he has already won the victory, and we need not be afraid. Waiting on the Lord means that we won't easily get discouraged. We will dig deeper and look higher and more intently in our search for where God is in whatever situation we are facing. Waiting on the Lord involves a deep ability to trust that God will show up, that God will protect us, that God will provide for us, that God will be our refuge. In verse 13, the psalmist says, "Yet I am confident I will see the Lord's goodness while I am here. in the land of the living. Waiting on the Lord and finding our refuge in Him allows us to have that kind of confidence. No matter what happens in this world, no matter how dark the storm gets, or how fierce the enemies roar, no matter what kind of uncertainty we face, the Lord is our light and our salvation. So why should we be afraid? The Lord is our fortress, our place of refuge, protecting us from danger. So why should we tremble? Wait patiently for the Lord. Be brave and courageous. Wait patiently for the Lord. Amen.
Hey guys, it's Carly singing Rescue. You are not hidden. There's never been a moment you were forgotten. You are not hopeless. Though you have been broken, your innocence stolen. I hear you whisper underneath your breath. I hear your SOS, your SOS. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. There is no distance that cannot be covered over and over. You're not defenseless. I'll be your shelter, I'll be your armor. I hear you whisper underneath your breath. I hear your SOS, your SOS. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. I will never stop marching to reach you in the middle of the hardest fight. It's true, I will rescue you. I hear you whisper underneath your breath. I hear you whisper you have nothing left. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. I will never stop marching to reach you in the middle of the hardest fight. It's true,